two best leaders of the state legislature ever here, and that's our very own senator and also Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally, and the Speaker of the House, Cameron Sexton. And I do want to mention Calfee. He's here today, and somebody that I really have gained a lot of respect for the last 2 years, and that inspires me to be the best legislator I can be. So Kent, where are you? There you are. But as I look around this crowd, I can't help but to think of how each one of us has got the opportunity to make a difference. It's the simplest way, and that's to exercise our civic duty and go vote. And to even make a bigger difference and to make our voices heard louder, all we have to do is ask our family, friends, and neighbors to go vote. And this election, why it's so important is because it's always how we heard it's the most important election of our lifetime. The reason being is because everything that we've achieved so far under the Republican leadership could be lost if we did not believe that. For example, in Tennessee, we became the lowest tax state in the nation. We balanced a $40 billion budget. We became the first state in the nation to offer 2 free years of college. And that's something a lot of other states would love to do. We achieved the AAA bond rating. And all that could be gone with one election. And could you imagine how long it would take to get that back? Years, decades, maybe even a generation. So ladies and gentlemen, join me in making a difference, and let's ride this bus to victory on November 3rd. Now, Kent Calfee is my next speaker, if he'll come on.
Thank you, Lowell. I'm glad Lowell let me come into his part of Loudon County today and see all y'all. And the things he said we'd accomplished in Nashville, we've paid for all of them, and not by raising taxes. We've lowered taxes. And Tennessee's just a great state to live in. And I meet people just every few days that have moved here from California, lifelong California, and they say, they just gone crazy. They're too liberal out there. They take all your freedoms away. You can't pay the bills. The state can't pay their bills. So anyway, we're blessed here in Tennessee, and we've got some great leadership in these two men right here. And of course, the Speaker of the House being my neighbor over in Cumberland County, and I think he's got the little blonde boss on the bus, his little daughter, and she's kind of in charge some days down there in the legislature. So, but she's a sweetheart. But thank y'all for coming out, and things are going good. We need to keep them going. And with that, I think Cameron's the next speaker.
Thanks, Kent. It's great to be here today. It's great to be in Lieutenant Governor's district as well as Lowell's and Kent. And let me just tell you, the Lieutenant Governor does a wonderful job for you all in Nashville, but he does a wonderful job for all of East Tennessee, representing the interests that you need and the things that you do. He helped keep us and put us on path to be where we are financially with our state when he was finance chair in the Senate, controlling the Democrats in the Senate back in the day when we didn't have control, until now when we are. So I owe him a debt of gratitude. I worked on his first campaign. Well, my first campaign was one of his campaigns. And so he introduced me to politics. So if there's ever anything you don't like about me, just go talk to him, because he's the one who put me into politics. But it's great to be here with Lowell and his law enforcement background. And I know we have first responders and law enforcement people over there. Thank you all for the job that you all do every day. We're never going to tell you we're going to defund you, Sheriff. We're never going to say we're going to defund. We're going to defend every single time. We're going to defend you every single time. Let me say, yesterday I had the honor of being able to greet the president when he came off the plane and welcome him to Tennessee. And so the one thing I want to talk to him about was not to allow Florida to take the credit for what we did in Tennessee first, which was we passed the law and order bill in the state of Tennessee against the mob. And we tell the mob, if you're going to do this, you're going to go to jail. And if you listened to the debate last night, you heard Joe Biden say, I want to get away with those mandatory minimums. I don't want mandatory minimums anymore. Why? Because he doesn't want people to go to jail. And so we put mandatory minimums on the mob. If they want to obstruct, destroy, occupy, they're going to go to jail. Because what happens when you get the liberal judges in Middle Tennessee? They're going to put them out on the street. Right, Sheriff? Right. So what we do, they can't put them on the street if there's mandatory minimums. And that's what Lieutenant Governor McNally, myself, and Kent, and Lowell all work for this year, is to make sure that they go to jail. And they occupied Nashville, the mob, for 62 days. They occupied the state capitol for 62 days. Lieutenant Governor and I had breakfast or lunch with the governor the next day. We woke up at whatever time that morning, and guess what happened? They all went home. And so when I was talking to the president about that last night, he goes, "You sent them packing." They went packing. That's exactly right. And he says, "I love Tennessee because Tennessee stands with President Trump." And if you watched that debate last night, it was very clear whether you're talking about immigration, whether you're talking about the economy, whether you're talking about health care, whether you're talking about even the Democrat issue of the environment and climate. President Trump even won that debate. And the funny thing is whenever he was hammering Joe Biden, and he said, "You couldn't get it done in 8 years. You couldn't get it done in 8 years. Why couldn't you get it done in 8 years?" And Joe Biden goes, "Well, Republicans." And all of a sudden, if you watched it, I was in the debate hall, but when you watched it, they zoomed out, and the president just looked. And there's just like silence, you know? And on the debate, like 5 seconds seems like 2 minutes. And he looks at him and goes, "Joe, you have to work with people. You have to work with people. You have to twist arms. I worked with the Democrats, and we got something passed, right?" And so what we have in the president is someone who's willing to fight and do what's necessary to make America great. And that's what those hats are talking about, and that's what we're doing here today. And it's a pleasure to be able to work with the elected officials that you sent, and also get to know their families. I see Miss Calfee back there. Get to know their families. And Julia's here. Her and I came in together. And also I see Chip back there. He's responsible for me too, so if you can't see me now, go talk to Chip. He helped me get into politics. But the fight that we're in right now is not a fight about what the normal Democrat Party was. If you go back into the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, Bill Clinton wouldn't be a Democrat. JFK would not be a Democrat. They have moved so far left that even the people who made the Democrat Party would not be Democrats anymore. And that's what we're fighting. Because at the end of the day, we have any veterans here? Any veterans here today? There has to be a few. Let's give them a warm welcome. And I'll end on this note. Because our veterans fought for our country overseas against Nazism, communism, fascism, tyranny, to make sure that that way of life did not come to America. Because that's the America we like, the republic, the free and fair elections. We passed photo ID when Julia was there because we want to make sure that your vote counts, that you are voting for who you say you are. That's why you have photo ID, to uphold the memories of those who fought for our country, who died, and who came back, and the families sacrificed, so that we can have fair and honest elections. But this election, the military can't fight, because this is a fight against socialism. And you saw it last night. And if you want to know about socialism, think about health care. They want to take government control of health care. They want to increase the debt. They want more people to be on poverty. They want class warfare, take away your guns, change religion. Democratic Convention, they didn't even mention God in there. If you look at the platform of what socialism is, the Democrat Party is moving there incrementally, step by step. So we have to turn out in this election, because this election is about Trump and Pence being the America that we were born into, that we love, that we want to keep. And you got the other ticket who wants to move us to a new America that mirrors what the European Socialist Party is about. And so that's what we're fighting. It's so good to be here. Y'all have great members who represent you in Nashville. I serve at the discretion of both of your representatives. I serve as state representative, but they elect me speaker. And when I used to come to Loudon, I lived in West Knox, but off Shodo, off North Shore. We come through Martell. I go play golf in Martell when I was growing up. Back in those days, my parents just dropped me off and come back about 6 hours later and swim at the pool and do everything else. So I have a long history, born and raised in East Tennessee. I was born in Lake City. It's called Rocky Top now, but I was born in Lake City. But I appreciate the opportunity to be here, see so many familiar faces. And I'm going to let Lowell introduce the next guest, but I owe the next speaker a whole lot because he helped mentor me, guide me, and he's still doing that today. And we are very good friends, and I think that's why you're seeing the House and the Senate being able to come together like we haven't had in the past to make our state better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you're a local elected official, if you'll raise your hand and be recognized. Thank you all. Let's give them a big hand. They're the ones that are here where the rubber meets the road. So as this bus comes through, let's remember the road to victory starts with them. So it's my great honor to introduce my friend, our friend, the best lieutenant governor of the state of Tennessee ever had, Randy McNally.
Thank you, Cameron. And Cameron and Kent do a great job in representing you and also on the issues that come and involve the entire state. You know, whether it's freedom of religion, whether it's cracking down on crime, whether it's, no matter what the issue, they're on the right side of it because their heart's on the right side, and they're great people to work with. And I really do appreciate the caliber of representatives that you sent to Nashville. And my good friend Cameron Sexton, he had just graduated from college when we used him as a head of my campaign, and it was the first one he had ever done. And he hit the ground running. He's one of the hardest working people that I've ever seen, and he does a great job for us. As he came in at a really rough time in the House, and he set that course of the House on a very good course, very ethical and high moral course. And I really do appreciate what he's done over the years. And you couldn't find a better person to be Speaker of the House. And I feel like one day in the future we might be calling him Governor. Governor Sexton. But we'll have to get it probably prime out of Campbell County, Cumberland County, excuse me. And but he'll make a great governor someday. I really do believe that. I think Lowell and Cameron mentioned the fiscal condition of the state, and it's really because of the representatives that y'all send to Nashville that make it that way. And we've got the lowest tax on a per capita basis. We've got the lowest debt on a per capita basis. We've got 3 AAA credit ratings, one of about a handful of states. And when you look at the pension system, which a lot of states have grossly underfunded, we're fully funded pension system, and we have an annual required contribution, and we make it every year no matter what. So it's in good shape for now and for the future. But what it does is it doesn't leave you lacking in funds. We have no income tax. We're getting rid of the last 1% of the Hall's income tax, and it'll be gone by 2022. And really, you've got more money to spend, more money to do things with what you like. And also, when you look at debt and pension and things like that, that means that we're not shifting our obligation to your children. And I think that's very important. But I definitely appreciate Loudon County. It's always been a great county for me, and one that really turns out and votes strong Republican. And I'm asking you, because this election, as the speakers have mentioned, is probably the most decisive election since the 1860s. And it's so important that we elect Trump, Haggerty, and then Lowell and Kent, and all the other Republicans that are on the ticket run. And I know we can count on Loudon County because y'all always come through. But we've got some other states that don't come through, and we've got to put a big total up on the board. Even though we're ahead, we need to capture also the popular vote across the country, and what people that you can bring to the polls, that's how we do it. But if y'all could try to bring at least 10 people to the polls, and I know some of you can bring a lot more. But thank you for what you do, and I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank y'all for coming out. Appreciate it very much.